Welcome to another edition of the Pacers Pride Podcast. I am your host, Cody Emerson. Alongside me, as always, my good friend and co-host, Dylan Deanhart. Dylan, before we get into Pacers talk, it's March Madness, so how's your bracket holding up?
My bracket's actually doing pretty well. I know I'm according to ESPN, I'm low in terms of the ranking, but I haven't lost a Sweet 16. I've lost 2 Sweet 16 teams, no Elite 8, no Final Four, no championship teams. So I'm doing all right. I just had to.
Is Purdue your national champion?
In one of them, I have them winning it all. That was just you know what? If perfect scenario. But in most of my others, I have Duke winning, much like 90% of America. So.
Yeah, I mean, can't really bet against what we've seen from Zion and them. But
though I do suspect if North Carolina makes it to the national championship, I could see North Carolina beating Duke.
I just want to see North Carolina Duke Part 4. I mean, I don't care. I think that's what America wants, and I think that's the popular consensus of what's going to happen. But we'll see. My bracket's doing all right. Honestly, one of my phony brackets that I made, I had Ohio State winning it all, and that's actually the one that's doing the best right now. So
you never know.
It's March. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen? Your Purdue Boilermakers just made the Villanova program non-existent last night.
Yeah, I can't hard time believing that they won a national championship last year. It just slips my mind sometimes.
All right, don't get too ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I say that, now we're gonna get our butts rear-ended by Tennessee or Iowa. So,
all right. Well, much like unlike our March Madness brackets and everything, which are holding up pretty solid, the Pacers are kind of just heading on a downward slump right now, and that's just because of this brutal schedule that they find themselves a part of. They currently on a 4-game losing streak. Somehow, thanks to we kind of talked about a little bit before the show, the inconsistent play of Boston, still clinging on to that 4 seed. I basically think that's the 4 or 5 is basically what the Pacers are fighting for right now, because I think we're 3 games behind Philly now.
I'm not sure.
Kind of not conceded the 3 seed, but just with Philly having a way easier schedule and us playing just a ridiculous hard schedule right now, it's kind of just the way it's shaped out. But the Pacers went to play the Portland Trailblazers. That's the game we're going to start with and recap the rest of the games that they have had previously. Then talk about the rest of this kind of grueling schedule that they have going. I apologize, that is my phone. Well, let's hope I will. When you talk, I'll go and put that on silent. But, the Trailblazers the Pacers came out firing in the first quarter. Miles Turner, I cannot say enough about what he did in this game. I was able, because I have no life and don't go to bed till about 1:30 each night. I stayed up and watched these games. Miles Turner played an absolutely outstanding game. He could do no wrong, basically. Had 28 and 10 off the bench. What the hell am I saying? But he had a phenomenal first quarter. I think he eclipsed 14, 15 points in the first quarter by himself. But the difference was, and the difference has been, it's Kristen Airy and Quinn Buckner have kind of been saying a common theme for this Pacers team during the road trip. The third quarter has been not so kind to the Pacers. They've just come out. The other team has come out and hit the Pacers in the mouth right out of the half, and that's kind of been the Pacers' downfall. But when you can't do much when Mo Harkless is making threes, when Alpha Rukaminu is making threes, and then obviously Damian Lillard just exploded for 30. Alpha Rukaminu had 16. Nurkic was able, for the most part, to bully Turner down low, which I kind of didn't like to see, but it was just one of those games for the Pacers. I mean, if you look at the box score, the Blazers only hit 13 threes, and that was basically the difference in the game. The Pacers hit 10, but they shot the ball pretty well as well. But just, Dylan, when a team's making threes, it's especially when the likes of Damian Lillard and then guys you don't expect to, it kind of be hard to win there.
Yeah, it was a rough game. I know the Pacers came out and tried to do a new defensive tactic of hard hedging. on Lillard to try to like minimize his impact from beyond the arc. And it worked to some extent until Damian Lillard, who ended up with 15 assists, was able to find his teammates open with consistency, which kind of wrecked the Pacers' whole attempt at trying to do the hard hedging. But it worked for a little bit, and then it all just kind of fell apart once the other guys started hitting threes, which is pretty much which I assume is what the Pacers were going to go for. Like, let's just hope to God that no one else on this team can hit threes other than Damian Lillard. So it was unfortunate. Of course, yeah, you don't expect Al-Farouq Aminu to go 4 or 5 from 3. Seth Curry went 3 of 6. So it's hard to beat this team when other players are stepping up, even with the absence of C.J. McCollum. But like you said, it was a very, very good game from Miles. One, I think that shows that he's capable of being the second scoring option on this team when there's a healthy Victor Oladipo. Of course, we needed a better game from Bojan. He just didn't have
Bojan.
Even with 15 points, it's like
he's had this road trip and kind of Western Conference swing. He's been not himself, but still 15 points, like you said. When he's basically been the bulk of the scoring in Oladipo's absence, just kind of needed a bit more from him. And just, like you said, C.J. McCollum wasn't playing in this game, so that's kind of why I thought the Pacers could maybe win it. And kind of another theme for this road trip, the Pacers have been getting down in the third quarter, then fighting and clawing their way back in the fourth quarter, and just have been coming up short. It happened in the Nuggets game prior to this one, and it happened in this one. It's unfortunate to see, but this is the kind of growing pains, I guess, that this team has to go through. And sucks that we don't have Vic, because I think, obviously, the outcome would be maybe a bit different if Vic was in this game. But unfortunately, Pacers don't have him and have to play the hand you're dealt. So, like we said, phenomenal game from Miles. Then Doug McDermott had another solid game off the bench, had 14. Sabonis did not have a good game, was basically shut down by Nurkic and Zach Collins, which I really didn't expect. And they also threw in Enes Kanter out there, so kind of he struggled a little bit. But you know what? It is what it is with this road trip. Just gotta keep grinding and hoping that you're gonna eventually come out and still hold on to that 4 spot. Boston, if you could lose a few games, and help us out.
They're on a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, so we'll see what the Pacers 3-game losing streak, really?
And they play the Spurs tonight at home.
Oh, so that's not an easy win by any means. So, speaking of not an easy win, the Pacers continued this road trip. This was a game that Dylan and I both agreed that we thought we would win. Just, it didn't happen. This Pacers played the Clippers in L.A. and lost 115-109. Once again, you look at the third quarter box score. The Clippers outscored the Pacers 34-26. Then flip-flop that in the fourth quarter. The Pacers just trying to claw their way back, and it just did not happen. The Pacers on the game shot 52%, but the difference in the game was turnovers, because you can't win a game when you're turning the ball over 20 times. It's just not going to happen. Just got to cut down the turnovers, because a Western Conference team will probably like to speed you up a little bit, not if you're not playing San Antonio, because basically San Antonio is the only...
They're clinging to that old grind.
Yeah, but for a team like the Clippers and Warriors and Nuggets and every team we've seen on this road trip, they're going to want to speed you up and get out in transition. They were led by Danilo Gallinari, who went off for 24 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a really great game also with 17. And Pacers could not stop Montrezl Harrell. I don't know.
It's been a common theme throughout the NBA. He's been tearing it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing with confidence. And confidence is a really big thing to have when you're playing like the way he is. When you're playing with confidence, he can be a dangerous player. Pacers did a phenomenal job, I think, on Lou Williams, though. 4 of 14, only had 11 points, but overall just was not a solid game. Was not a complete game, I guess would be the best word to describe it. They only scored 16 points in the first quarter. And I was really hoping that they would be able to bounce back from this. I will say Bojan had a kind of a bounce back game, had 19, and really it was phenomenal play from the bench. McDermott has played well on this road trip. Tyreek has played well these past few games. He had 19 after the rumors of maybe he wants out of Indy or whatever we talked about last week. But just the Pacers kept clawing back, and they had it within 3 points. And on this final, I feel bad for Bojan because I don't know if you saw on social media or anything where he basically got his. I'm not going to say he got his ankles broke by Patrick Beverley,
yeah, I saw that.
Because he went out to contest because Patrick Beverley could have shot the three.
Yeah.
He got there late. I think he just lost his footing. But people were saying, oh, Patrick Beverley, look what he did to Bojan. And it's like, it's whatever. And then Patrick Beverley was able to blow by him and hit a floater to basically seal the game and put the Clippers up by 5. And then on the very next possession, when Bojan gets the ball, he slips again. So I kind of feel bad for Bojan in that sense. But you know what? It's Patrick Beverley. He was on, I believe, Bojan most of the game. And
it makes sense. They just put him on like whoever the best backcourt player is in the game. So,
but I mean, just you gotta hopefully continue to just grind through this. Dylan, I know the 20 turnovers is gonna have to be a problem. That if the Pacers don't get corrected, they're gonna probably see more losses.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way a 20 turnover game in the NBA is going to lead to a comfortable victory, especially when you give them that much chances. I don't see the points off of turnovers here, but I would assume they cashed in on a bunch of them. But I would chalk this game up to just being another back-to-back, especially in the Western Conference road trip, which makes the back-to-back even worse with time change and everything.
Yeah, that was another thing that, and you could. I was saying, kind of tweeting out all night, since I was live tweeting this game, especially in the first quarter. The Pacers looked sluggish and kind of playing, ISO ball with just one-on-one, not moving the ball that well, and it showed.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's just going off of what I said, but I also wanted to bring up the fact that it's just becoming more apparent, like, Doug McDermott just doesn't like Bankers Life Fieldhouse for whatever reason in terms of shooting. Like he's like a 50% free throw or a 50% 3-point shooter who leads the NBA when he's not at home. But when he's at home, he's shooting like 38% from 3, which is a very odd trend. I think that's I don't know of anybody else who does that, but maybe we just need the lower seats, and then or he has more shots at opponents' arenas when we play in the playoffs. But it's still good to see him get the shot. He was 8 of 12 with 17 points against the Clippers, and only 1 of 3 from 3-point, which you would think that most of his points would come from beyond the arc, but he was attacking from within the arc.
Yeah, he put on he has become. We know him obviously as a shooter. I kind of see this as a Bojan situation. His first year or throughout his career, Bojan was just known as a shooter, and that's basically what Doug McDermott was. But he has really become a nice slasher and been able to put the ball on the floor and score at the rim this year, and it's been really nice to see. So hopefully, I think McDermott's on a 2-year deal, right?
Yeah, 2-year, $10 million deal, I thought.
Okay, so we'll have him for 1 more year at least. So that's good to see. But once again, Pacers lost this game 115-109, and just you're talking about the points off turnovers.
Sorry, is it 3 year, $22
Oh,
million
$3
deal?
million. Oh,
3 year.
3 year, yeah.
$22 million deal.
Okay. I was about to say $3 million. I just heard you wrong. My fault. But you're speaking the points off turnovers. The Pacers actually scored 23 points off 13 turnovers for the Clippers, and the Clippers were only able to score 9 points off those 20 turnovers.
You get lucky, I guess.
Yeah, so just getting luck. Yeah, like you mentioned, it was kind of luck that they were able to hold them to only 9 points, and just like I said, keep grinding and everything. But you know what? It's gonna be tough this stretch to hold on to that 4. But I think that Pacers can grind out and play a bit better. 4 quarters is what it's going to take, obviously. That's what it takes in any NBA game. Play consistent 4 quarters, and Pacers hopefully will be fine heading into the playoffs. And speaking of the playoffs, before we get into the Warriors game, but the Pacers did clinch a playoff spot, I think because of either Charlotte or Miami.
It might have been Charlotte beating Boston.
I know we had I saw it, I think it was Tony East or someone that said if Miami or Charlotte loses, that the Pacers would clinch a playoff spot. So we would still, we got a playoff spot, but kind of not the way we wanted. But you know what? A playoff spot is a playoff spot.
We can do no worse than 8. So.
Let's hope no.
Yeah. I don't want to play Giannis for 4 games in the playoffs because that's how long it would be. 4 games.
It'd be a 4-game series because the Pacers have not fared well against the Bucks this year.
Yeah.
And speaking of not faring well, the Pacers had to go and play in Oracle Arena against the defending champs Golden State Warriors, and this game honestly went about as I expected. I maybe thought the Pacers had a slimmer of a chance to compete, but it was a 10-point game at half. Held Golden State to 19 points in the first quarter, so that was a really positive.
Holy crap! Did Golden State go deep into their bench?
Did they?
Jordan Bell, Jonas Jerebko, McKinney, Kevon Looney, Andrew Bogut, Quinn Cook, Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala all came off the bench.
Good Lord. Now looking at the box score, I see what you're talking about. And they all, none of them stood out by any means, but...
Yeah, no Warrior, single-handedly beat us. They just all scored.
Yeah, and this was a game Kevin Durant kind of had some, I don't want to say extra motivation in this game, but I think one of his really good friends whatever
I heard about that.
Passed away, I think, that day.
It was his birthday.
It was? Oh, okay. Was Kevin Durant's birthday?
No, it was his friend's birthday, and he was celebrating it in Atlanta, and he got killed.
Oh, lovely. So Kevin Durant kind of was playing for his friend. And then the return of DeMarcus Cousins, he missed 2 games. The Warriors' previous 2 games with, I think, an ankle injury or whatever. He came back and...
This is the first game for Bogut, I believe, too.
Yeah.
They just signed.
So, and Bogut... he's a defender. We all know that. He's kind of their rim protector and everything. But there's really not much to really talk about in this game. Just the 2 things that I want to talk about. Pacers' awful 3-point shooting, 6 of 23. And just overall, you're not going to win a game when you're shooting 38% from the field. So, and Golden State did their typical, almost shot 50%. And they only shot 36% from 3, but they made 13 threes compared to the Pacers' 6. So that was another reason why they won. Huge game. I will give props to a few Pacers. Thaddeus Young had a really solid game, 18.7 boards. But no other Pacer played, I'm going to say even Wesley Matthews had 3 points in 27 minutes. That's not going to get it done.
I would argue Aaron Holiday had a pretty solid game.
That's who I was going to mention as well. Tyree, the bench, honestly, excluding
Sabonis, Leaf, and Quinn.
The only starter who played well was Thad. Miles only had 4.
Sorry, it's tough to go against Boogie.
It is, and I'll give Miles a pass for that because he had a phenomenal game against the
Oh,
Trailblazers.
And this was the game I think Nate McMillan had to sit out because of
Yes,
a death in the family.
He had a death in the family. So.
And Darren Collison was out with an ankle injury, which meant Corey Joseph started, and Corey Joseph hasn't been shooting well over the past couple games.
Corey Joseph, I think he started also in the Clippers game, and I'm not one to really get on Corey Joseph much because he's a phenomenal defender, and he's out there because of defense. So we really don't expect him to produce that great offensively. But good God, the dude had 2 backcourt violations where he brought the ball up and then passed it to, I think it was either Thad or Wes, who was coming up from behind, and they were trailing the play, and his foot was on the half-court line.
Yeah.
It's like, just bring the ball up, and he did it a third time, and the refs didn't call it. So that's kind of just inexcusable on his part. And yeah, Corey Joseph has not had a good month, honestly. But he's out there for defense, but checking Steph Curry is no
At that point,
easy task, though.
I know it'd probably be an unpopular choice, but I would kind of like to see Aaron Holiday get starter minutes just to see what he could do with the starters over Corey Joseph. I mean, now especially since we've locked in a playoff spot, we could give Corey Joseph some rest and keep him on the bench where I think he's more comfortable, and just see what we have in Aaron Holiday.
I wouldn't be opposed to that, really.
So
because I think that's why we drafted Aaron Holiday. He's going to be our point guard of the future, going to be in that starting lineup. So maybe. I don't know what McMillan would think of that by any means, but we'll see what happens. Tyreek had continued his really solid play. He had 20 as well. And speaking of Aaron Holiday, you mentioned he had 13 points. Perfect from the field. 4 of 4 from 3, from free throw. He played a really solid game, so good to see Aaron Holiday get some playing time and play well. But Pacers, like I mentioned, that was their last loss and currently on a 4-game losing streak. So, and they do get a reprieve because they're we're going to start to preview some of the games that they have this week. If you call it a reprieve, I guess, being at home.
We're in the midst of we're at the tail end of the.
It's almost over.
Yeah.
It's almost.
Take refuse in that.
It'll be over this week, basically.
Holding the Pacers fans' heads gently and just massaging it. It'll be all over.
It'll be all over soon. But the Pacers get the Nuggets at home.
Thank God.
This time.
I forgot what Bankers Life Fieldhouse looked like.
I think most Pacer fans did. You know what? They list DC as day to day. I don't know if Pacers Twitter has released the injury report yet. But if he plays, I hope that he could give Corey Joseph put Corey Joseph back to the bench. I'm not going to say where he belongs or anything because that's just rude of me to say, but and get him more chemistry with that bench unit and have DC come back. If DC's playing, I think that it'll bolster the offense a bit more. And since we're at home, we only lost by 2, and that was on a Paul Millsap tip-in with, I think 16 seconds. It was late in the fourth quarter. I'm saying the Pacers pulled this one out, probably picking with my heart over my head, but you competed with the Nuggets on the road and only lost by 2, so I think being at home maybe will kind of just give this team some form of energy. I know the fans will give this team the energy, hopefully, that they need to pull out the win, but it's going to be another tough one, obviously, stopping Jokic again because Jokic had his way last time these two teams met. So, I don't know, but with it being at home, I'm just hoping that the Pacers are able to pull out the win.
So, the factors that are in play tonight. We are on 2 games of rest. We've come back to Indy. We played on Thursday. And currently, the Nuggets are on a 6-game winning streak. And they're on their Eastern Conference road trip. And their last game was at New York on the 22nd. So, was that Thursday?
That would have been Friday. Yeah, Friday.
Okay, so that's when they last played. So now they have had 2 days rest as well, or no, 1 day rest. So with DC as day to day, I've been thinking that I've seen him that he's going to be playing, but I could be totally wrong. I thought that his injury was just like we're not going to test you in the road trip thing, and you'll be back when we get back home. But I could be wrong. So I will, with my pick, I will assume DC is playing, and I will boldly say that we win this game. Just because I think the rest will be beneficial to us. We've at least had 1 day of rest. I'm assuming we traveled on Friday and we had a rest day on Saturday. So I think we take this one out, or pull this one out. I would like to see Aaron Holiday get more minutes, especially if DC is out. I would like to see him get starter minutes or even 6-man minutes, with Corey Joseph getting a little bit more time in the second unit. But it's hard. I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic.
Right.
I think we win less than 5 points.
Oh yeah,
victory.
it's gonna be a close game regardless. And they have not listed the injury report yet. I am just scrolling through their Twitter right now.
Okay. I know Denver has no injuries as of right now, so
of course they don't. So, happy birthday, Miles Turner, by the way. Did not know it was his birthday until scrolling through.
Have a birthday game.
Yeah, let's hopefully channels.
He's turning 22.
23.
Right? Let's have 23 points, 23 blocks, and 23 rebounds.
If he does anywhere close to that, he would lock up Defensive Player of the Year right there, in my opinion. But happy birthday, Miles. Have a great game tonight, and yeah. But like I said, they have not listed the injury report yet. I'm assuming that's gonna be coming out here.
It has to be coming
here in the next few hours.
2:00 is when I expected.
So we'll see if DC is playing, but hopefully being at home, Pacers I think are gonna love to just be back at home, because the Western Conference road trip, the Eastern Conference is getting better, obviously, but the Western Conference is still obviously the superior conference in my opinion.
No doubt.
It doesn't help. I had to understand if you're playing like non-playoff teams or even teams that are like 7th or 8th. Well, they played the Clippers. I think the Clippers are like 8th. But if you're playing not so great teams, I think it would have been a bit better. But still, Western Conference road trips are just brutal.
Clippers are tied for 5th, actually.
Okay.
They're right now 7th, I think, because of tiebreakers, but they have the same record as the Jazz and the Thunder.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's a collage of just teams battling it out right now.
So like, the 8th spot in the Western Conference is 42-31. The 8th spot in the East is 36-37.
Yeah, so, like we said, the West is just grueling, and there's no easy games when you're playing out West. And so it's almost.
But Sacramento's still alive in the West.
Are they?
They're the only team alive that's not in the playoffs picture right now. They're 36-36.
How many games are they behind?
They're 5 games back of San Antonio.
Oh, okay. They would need to put on a nice run.
Yeah, and need San Antonio to drop a lot
and falter. Yeah, but so we'll see. Like we said, if DC is playing, hopefully he is, and the Pacers can get back in the win column because they really need it, and they would pull. We're only, like we mentioned, I think a game up on Boston.
Yep.
So if we lose, it'd be a half game, and we still see Boston 2 more times. And so let's just hope that we can pull out a win. I'm thinking the home court advantage will hopefully propel them to a win tonight. Speaking of Boston, I know that the Pacers... Is it Boston?
Next is Oklahoma City.
Oh, lovely. We go to OKC. That game is on ESPN. Okay. On Wednesday night, so I'll be able to watch most of that. So, obviously, the last time the Pacers played OKC, in OKC, or no, this was at home. My bad. Yeah. Wesley Matthews hit a game-winning tip-in with like a few seconds left, and Banker's life exploded as the Pacers defeated. It's always a good time. We talked about when we defeat PG and everything. So, but this is in OKC. I think the Thunder will probably be wanting a little bit of revenge for what happened. when we played them at home, so as much as I would like to say that this is a win, I'm going to probably predict a loss because you have Brody to stop. You have Russell Westbrook, who's going to get his triple-double probably. And then you have PG, who's playing at an MVP level. If it wasn't for James Harden and Giannis and everyone, he'd probably be the front runner for it. And then Steven Adams as a force down low. And then you have Dennis Schroeder, who's played really well off the bench and everyone. So I'm going to say that the Pacers probably drop this one in OKC.
No, OKC has had a relatively rough go of it the last couple of weeks.
I did see that though.
They were on at least a 4-game losing streak. They won against Toronto on Friday after just losing to Toronto which is weird. They lost to Toronto at home in overtime, and then they beat Toronto at Toronto on Friday.
I don't like those home road games. I don't see why the NBA does it. We have ours with Detroit here coming up, I think, in not this week, but the following week. So
yeah, it's on April 1st and April 3rd.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But I think the fact that it's deciding it for me is that we're on ESPN, and historically the Pacers have not played well on national TV. So I'm going to give this an Oklahoma City Thunder boost, or a win, I guess. I'd rather some boost. I don't know why I said that. So it's going to be tough. It's always tough to win in that. It's like Chesapeake and Oracle are the best arenas in terms of crowd advantage.
Right.
So I give it to, I think PG's got something all right.
Yeah.
Rolls up his sleeve. And so I think Oklahoma City takes this and Pacers fall to 45-30 assuming we win against Nuggets.
Yeah, that would be our record if our predictions are right.
Yeah, which they statistically aren't.
Yeah, so like we said, if our predictions were right, the Pacers would probably clinch.
They'd be 82-0.
Yeah,
if I had to go.
So, speaking of, we talked about Boston just here recently. They will travel to, is it TD Garden?
Yeah.
Okay, the TD Garden to play.
I just looked at the Boston Celtics injury chart.
Is it a handful?
I mean, they're all day-to-days, but there's a lot of day-to-days. Jason Tatum, Robert Williams, Greg Monroe, Aaron Baines, Gordon Hayward.
Good.
Al Horford, Aaron Baines again. Marcus Smart was also day-to-day. Or that was just because of an injection. What the hell? It says day-to-day with injury, and then the comment, Smart was ejected from Wednesday's game against Philadelphia. That's not an injury, ESPN. Baines has a grade 2 left ankle sprain. Gordon Hayward has a concussion.
Ooh, so concussion.
He said return to action against Charlotte, which I don't think he did. He's out against the Hornets, so they say he's probably going to return against San Antonio. Al Horford has left knee soreness against the left. He won't play against the Hornets, or he didn't play against the Hornets.
Bruised lower back, so who knows what that'll be like come. But unfortunately for the Pacers, this game doesn't take place until Friday, so these players will have time to recoup and get healthy and everything. So I would love to predict a Pacers win, but we don't have Vic this time to save us or hit a game-winning 3 against Boston, which I was so fortunate to be at that game, but don't have that. And I think that's another thing that's plagued the Pacers, and something that Quinn Buckner and a lot of, when I've been forced to watch it on Reddit and have to listen to the idiocracy of other commentators, just that I could go on a rant about that for an entire hour, but I'm not going to. Just look at our Twitter if you want to see my rants. But they've talked about the Pacers really don't have a go-to closer. I think Bojan is that guy, but I don't think he's comfortable in that role quite yet.
I think it might be Wesley Matthews. I think he's got that confidence. He's got the veteran leadership. That's who I would say. Granted, you still have the factor that he's not been on the team for more than 2 months. So
yeah, it's kind of just up in the air of late game situations. Who do we get the ball to, and what kind of play do we run? And I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for McMillan and this entire coaching staff is just late game situations. Is who do we get? We have people that can score without question, but it's who do we want taking that last shot?
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna say to wrap up our Boston prediction, I would hope that the Pacers could keep it close, and maybe if the Pacers keep this game close and lose only by a few points, I'd be happy. Same with honestly any of the games. It sucks to say that, but because I would like to see them win some of these much needed games, especially when we're battling for this 4th and 5th, because home court is going to be huge.
Every time I look, or every time the Pacers lose, I always see on like Instagram, the story where the NBA puts out their like sliding up standings. I always okay, all right, now Boston's tied us. And every time I look at it, I always see the Pacers are 1 game ahead of the Celtics. So I don't know what is going on with Boston, but it's like the Pacers are take the 4 seed, and they're no, we don't want the 4 seed. So, I mean,
yeah, it's home court because I don't want to. Granted, I think
at this point, I think we're just destined to play Boston.
Yeah,
it's what's looking like going to happen. I doubt we slip all the way.
I doubt we slip to the 6.
Yeah, we're 6 games ahead of Detroit for the 6th seed. So, I'm taking a monumental collapse in the next. How many games do we have left?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games left.
So yeah, we have to lose. We had to go 3 of 6 overall.
3 of 6, and Detroit would have to get on a red hot tear.
Yeah.
So we do play Detroit twice. So I mean, but that's only 2 games right there. So
it's pretty much. We've pretty much locked into the 4-5 matchup. It's just whether or not we get the home field or home court advantage or not. So.
Yeah,
it's just the one thing to look out for.
I really think we need home court, especially against a team like Boston.
Yeah.
But finishing our predictions, I keep saying we're going to finish it. But then I get sidetracked and bring up another topic. But I just think it's going to be another loss, unfortunately.
I would concur.
Yeah, it's just...
But on the bright side, that is the Boston game is the end of this.
Yes. We do see Boston one more time, and that will... But that's basically the Pacers' last difficult game of the year.
Yeah.
And that's on Friday, April 5th. But after that...
I would say Brooklyn, too. But it is at home. We get both of those games.
The way D'Angelo Russell's playing right now, repping my Ohio State Buckeyes, who knows? I mean, we talked about before the show, he and the Nets were the team to eliminate the Lakers from the playoffs.
And LeBron's not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful sight to see.
First time since 2005.
Yep, we'll see what they do in free agency, if they bring in basically every other free agent.
Free agency this year is going to be whack. I'm going to tell you that.
It's going to be fun to talk about, most definitely.
We could talk about, there was an article on 8.9 seconds that I saw recently that said the case for re-signing Wesley Matthews in the offseason.
I would be totally on board with that.
And I know...
I was actually thinking about, because there's a little... the NBA tab on ESPN has free agency and a list of free agents for the next 2 years, and I was thinking maybe... One of our final episodes maybe of the year, we could do a free agency episode. Yeah. That'd be cool. Because Pacers have a lot of decisions to make this offseason.
Yeah. It's the big one is if we re-sign Wesley, can we let Thad and Bojan return? Because we want to give Bojan that extension, but if we want to re-sign Wesley Matthews, he will demand roughly $10 million. So... I don't know if we have enough money to keep all 3, but...
I know I may hit up DM Tony East or something and see if he can give me a lowdown on the cap situation. And
I know we still have the most money in the NBA, I believe, or at least top 5 in terms of cap space.
We've talked about it a little bit, but if you want to... if you're into cap space and money and all that and what the Pacers have available and everything, please go follow Tony East on Twitter. He is a master at it. I would love to have the time that he does to sit down, and he creates an entire spreadsheet of contracts and everything. It's ridiculous.
Are the Pacers dead last in cap space?
There's no way we are.
Almost. We're 3,800. We're 38 million under the cap space. Well, practical cap space we have 48 million, but the cap space is negative 38 million. I don't know what that means. But
Well, I'll see if we can. Heck, maybe we can try to get Tony on the show one time to see if he can give us a breakdown about it, because he knows a lot more than we do.
That man knows so much about numbers.
He really does, and it's like I said, go follow him. Just go follow him in general on Twitter, because he's a very insightful person in the on Pacers Twitter and just in general. So, but yeah, going back to our predictions, talk about the Orlando game. Yes, the Pacers will play the Magic on Saturday. I think this is where we finally, like you said, get off the losing schneid and hopefully, knock on wood in here. The door's all the way over there, so I can't slide over there. But Dylan's got it. All right, but hopefully we are still in the 4 spot after this and can maybe grind out. Hopefully
Buffer.
Not extraneate. I don't know what I'm trying to. I don't know what word I'm trying to use there. Use too much energy in the last week of the regular season, week and a half. But the Magic they're what, 9th?
They're 35 and 38.
How many games back of the 8th?
They are 1 game back of Miami for the 8th spot.
Okay, so they're still going to be fighting for that playoff, though.
Assuming, this is still like 4 games.
So they could be out of it maybe if they're on a losing streak, or if they get a win streak, maybe be at that 8th spot and trying to fight to hold on to that. Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic, going to be tough, obviously, for Thad and Miles to deal with, and also Terrence Ross off the bench. Did we lose?
Yeah, Terrence Ross. Orlando leads the series 2-1 against us, but that we lost both of the away games to them. Now we get them back home, where we did beat them 112-90 last time. So
yeah, so I thought we struggled against Orlando a little bit this year, but I'm gonna predict a win since it's at home, and we're just like Orlando. We're gonna be fighting for our seeding and everything in the East. So, and this begins the kind of home stretch. The Pacers can't take their foot off the brakes by any means, or foot off the gas by any means. That's what I meant to say. Foot off the brakes, and
yeah.
But words are hard. And it's relatively. I want to say it's early, but it's almost noon, so I can't use that excuse. But I'm going to predict the Pacers win. Nikola Vucevic and those guys are going to be, like you said, they lead the series 2-1, but this one's at home where we've won previously, so I think they get it done.
And I made a mistake. They did not. Last time Magic came to Indiana, they beat us. That was the Terrence Ross explosion game. We beat them once on the road, lost once on the road, and then lost at home. So hopefully they just bring that tape back of when Orlando beat us, and that gives them some extra motivation that they shouldn't need to beat them. But I agree that the Pacers should win this game. I think this will be a very telling game. If we struggle a lot in the games prior and we struggle in this game, that could be some warning signs that start flashing. But if we do well and end up winning this game, I think this could show that we're still very much going to make some noise in the playoffs. But I also agree with that. I hope we win this game. It'll be on Saturday. I don't think it's a back-to-back or anything.
It is.
It is a back-to-back.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So
we'll have to fly from Boston probably that night, I would assume.
Yeah. To
back home to Indy, but thank God we're not. I don't want to say we're playing a team that can get the job done, because or any team can get the job done again on any night in the NBA, but it's not like we're playing the Bucks or something like that. Thank God we're done with that series. But because, like you said earlier, we want no part of Giannis.
I don't want any part of Giannis or Kawhi, honestly.
Right. So, but
or Philly. or Boston, or
Philly.
or Orlando, or Detroit, or
or Brooklyn, or any
can
team.
we just get like the golden ticket to the national champ or the NBA finals,
and get swept by Golden State?
I mean, if as long as we got to the finals, I'd be happy.
I mean, but let's get Vic back before we start thinking about the NBA finals, because that's a
Man can dream, can't he?
I mean, yeah, it's March. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So using the
only for 7 more days. So.
Hey, they call it March Madness for a reason. So hopefully the Pacers can channel the inner college basketball mentality and shock the world. I guess shock the world or something. Not really, but and shock some of these teams and get some wins. But I think that's a good place to end. This Pacers just got to grind out 3 more of these games, and then obviously the Orlando game, which going to be no easy task either, but probably it's much easier than dealing with Denver, Oklahoma City, and Boston.
True.
So, but hoping they can, if we can go, I'd be happy with 2-2. 1-3 would kind of suck.
Yeah.
But especially the game at Boston. But like we said earlier, Boston, if you don't mind losing some more,
we'd greatly appreciate it.
The Pacers fans and Pacers Twitter and Pacers Nation would greatly appreciate it. But I highly doubt.
We'll throw in a St. Elmo's gift card when you come to Indy for the playoffs.
Hey, I mean, I've never been, and I kind of want to go, but I don't got money.
Yeah,
so,
neither do I. I don't have $100 to spend on the water, so yeah.
It's probably right around. That's probably an accurate price.
Yeah.
Knowing how expensive St. Elmo's is, but like we said, that's where we're going to end it for this week. Hopefully the Pacers can grind out these wins, and
hopefully we're still a 4 seed when we come back.
Yeah, next Sunday when we come back, hopefully we're still holding on to that 4 spot. But until then, for Dylan Deanhart, I'm Cody Emerson. Go Pacers.